Welcome back to Gracie Reacts. My people, we don't come again with another update. Right now, we want to talk about Asari Dokubo and the Igbos when they Nigeria. Ugo Shinere don't come speak facts about how presidency they rule and the hatred when some of them get towards the Igbos. Asari Dokubo don't vex. Open mouth tell Nigerians say, may they don't keep quiet again. May they speak out because the way Nigeria say they suffer, the more they they benefit from us. Right now, Tinubu government don't offend this man because of the clash when in with Wike get. He don't open mouth to expose some of the secrets when they do for inside presidency when we don't know. Make I leave and watch the video, my people. I beg if you don't watch am, feel free make you drop your own thoughts for comment section. If you know say you never subscribe to this channel, I beg subscription are free, make it for the get our updates.
All right, so today we're diving into Nigerian politics. And let me tell you, the speech we're unpacking, intense. It's like a pressure cooker of frustration ready to blow, and you can tell it's not just venting. This is a message with a target audience in mind.
Oh, absolutely. Even without knowing the speaker's name, you see that online rhetoric, the calls to subscribe, drop your thoughts, very calculated.
Yeah, and speaking of calculated, the channel name is Gracie React. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it instantly makes me think of those reaction videos online,
Yeah.
Prime spot for strong opinions and often rallying people to action.
And he's definitely calling for action. Positions himself as someone in the know, ready to spill secrets about Nigeria's presidency, no less. But the core message, his people are ignored, mistreated, their voices, well, he says it best himself.
It's that phrase, they don't want us to speak, that really gets to the heart of it. This isn't just about being unheard. It's about feeling silenced, intentionally, systematically. He's alleging a whole pattern of suppression aimed at anyone who dares to question the government.
And he backs it up, too. He points to the economic contributions his people have made, especially their investments in Legos, almost like saying, look what we bring to the table. So it's not just talk.
Exactly. And that phrase he uses, the Nigerian project, that's loaded with historical baggage. Remember, Nigeria is a nation wrestling with all these ethnic and regional tensions, a legacy of its colonial past. You've got all these different groups, often divided by resources and power, trying to create a shared identity, a unified nation.
Yeah.
That's the project. And this speaker clearly feels his group is essential to it, but they're not treated as equal partners.
It's like he's saying, we've held up our end of the bargain, but we're still treated as less than.
Precisely. That sense of injustice, of not being seen as full participants, fuels his anger. He sees a system rigged against his people, denying them basic rights, protection, you name it. And to really drive that point home, he makes a very deliberate comparison
to the Niger Delta region, which has its own whole history of unrest, right? And it's fascinating how he uses that almost like a cautionary tale.
Exactly. He brings up the Niger Delta's history of unrest, often stemming from disputes over oil resources and environmental damage. And his point is the government was forced to pay attention there, right? They couldn't ignore it forever.
Yeah.
So he's alleging a double standard. Similar concerns from his region are just swept under the rug.
And that comparison lands even harder because of Nigeria's ongoing struggle to balance the needs of all its different regions. By bringing up the Niger Delta, he's tapping into a much larger national conversation.
Absolutely. It's a brilliant strategic move. He's connecting his specific grievances to this bigger story of inequality and the fight for recognition within that Nigerian project we were talking about.
And it gets even more specific, right? He brings up the government's handling of those farmer-herder clashes, implying a clear bias in how those conflicts are resolved, favoring one group over another. What do you make of that accusation?
Yeah, and that's where that phrase comes in again, treated like second-class citizens. He's saying it's not just about this issue or that policy. It's deeper than that. It's about feeling like they're not really seen as full citizens deserving of the same rights and protections as everyone else.
And he really brings it home, too, when he talks about the consequences of all this, right? The fear, the economic hardship, families being forced to flee their homes. This isn't some abstract political debate for him. This is real life.
Exactly. He's painting a picture of a community living in constant fear, never knowing what's next, having their livelihoods ripped away. That really hits home.
And then the speech takes this darker turn, right? He uses that phrase, they don't want this thing to end. Honestly, it makes you wonder what he's really saying there. It's a serious accusation.
Oh, it is. He's implying that there are people in the government who are actually benefiting from this unrest.
Yeah.
That it's in their interest for things to stay chaotic.
So if he's right, the worse it gets for his people, the better it is for these powerful figures. That's a scary thought.
It speaks to a deep distrust of the government's motives and their willingness to actually solve these problems.
Totally. And that distrust runs through the whole speech, right? It's like he's saying, They're not just messing up, they're doing this on purpose. And that's when he shifts gears from complaints to demand.
Exactly. He's done laying out the problems. Now he wants solutions. And the first one is pretty specific. He demands the release of someone named Namdi. Now, you flagged this earlier, and I got to admit, I'm drawing a blank. Who is this person?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, and I'm totally lost too. Why is Namdi so important in this whole thing?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have enough to go on from this clip alone. But it's possible Namdi is some kind of community leader or a political figure, maybe even someone who's been wrongly imprisoned, someone who represents the injustices he's talking about.
So releasing a Namdi becomes about more than just this one person. It's a way for the government to show they're serious about dialogue, about righting these wrongs.
Exactly. It's a symbolic gesture, a sign of good faith.
And that desire for action goes beyond just Namdi. He also talks about the need for genuine leadership. Not just people in power, but people who really get it, people who understand what's at stake and are willing to do the hard work to fix it. What do you think genuine leadership would look like in this situation?
It's about someone who actually listens to these grievances, who acknowledges the pain and the anger, and who's truly committed to justice and equality for all Nigerians. Not just empty words, but real action.
He even uses the word roadmap. Like he wants a clear plan of action, not just talk, but concrete steps.
He wants accountability. He wants to see that the people in charge are taking this seriously and are committed to creating a better future.
It's a powerful call to action, and it definitely raises a lot of questions. But there's something else in this speech that caught my attention. He talks about his own wealth and political campaigns. It's towards the end, right? He's talking about how he funds his own political campaigns, how he doesn't need anyone's money. And it felt like, I don't know, more than just bragging, almost like he was trying to make a point about his credibility.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a speech like this, bringing up personal wealth, especially if it's self-made, it's definitely strategic.
Like he's trying to get ahead of any accusations, saying, look, I'm already wealthy. I'm not doing this for personal gain.
Exactly. He's building this image of himself as incorruptible, someone who can't be bought or silenced, you know. It's a powerful message, especially when people are already feeling disillusioned with corrupt politicians.
So he's saying, my conscience is clear. I'm fighting for something bigger here.
Right. And that resonates with a lot of people. It taps into this desire for authentic leadership, someone who's not beholden to special interests.
It's a lot to take in, that's for sure. I mean, we started with this really charged online speech and ended up having this whole conversation about Nigerian politics, about history, about ethnic tensions, even allegations of corruption. And we still have unanswered questions like, who is this Namdi? What exactly happened that led to this speech?
And that's often the thing about these kinds of speeches, right? They're like a starting point. They raise these big questions, these deep-seated issues, and then it's up to us to grapple with them, to try to understand the complexities.
Well, it's been eye-opening, I'll give you that. We talked about the power of online speech, the whole idea of the Nigerian project, the need for real leadership. It just goes to show you can pack a lot into a short message, especially when it comes to something as important as this.
It reminds us to really listen, even when it's uncomfortable, even when people are angry. Because often, that's where you find the most important truths, the most urgent calls for change.
That's a great point. And on that note, to our listeners, keep asking those tough questions, keep learning, keep digging deeper, and we'll do the same. Until next time, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.